This training video describes how to interpret your non-oral reading fluency Literably data after students have taken their assessments. This includes Literably's Phonological Awareness, Phonics, RAN, spelling, vocabulary, and comprehension assessments. Let's first take a look at the data that can be found on your teacher dashboard. You can find the data for the various assessments by clicking on the different assessment tabs at the top. For example, if I want to view my students' most recent phonological awareness assessments, I can click on the PA tab. In the middle, under Last Assessment, you will see your students' most recent graded assessments, including the title of the assessment, the date, and the score as an overall accuracy percentage. These can be sorted by date, title, and score using the triangle icons next to these column names. On the right-hand side, you will see the next assessment that has been recommended for the student. After students take Literably's grade level screeners, Literably will recommend a next assessment based on how students performed. If they did well, Literably will recommend harder skills. If they struggled, Literably will recommend easier skills. You always have the option of manually selecting another screener for the student or creating a custom assessment. If you ever see none assigned in this column, this means that the student will not see the option to take a PA assessment when they log in. Let's now click on the other assessments. You can see that the data on your dashboard is very similar for phonics, spelling, RAN, vocabulary, and comprehension. For phonological awareness, phonics, spelling, and comprehension, you also have the option of toggling the dashboard data to Skills View. Let's take a look at phonological awareness, for example. If I toggle to Skills View, this gives you the ability to see how your entire class is doing on the specific skills that have been covered on these assessments. Now let's take a look at phonics, for example. If I click on Skills View, then Vowel Digraph, I can see which of these vowel digraphs my students are struggling with based on the assessments they've taken in Literably. For comprehension, you can see skills broken down by the Common Core ELA anchor standards, genre, and also whether the questions are literal or inferential. Now that you know how to find your students' data on your teacher dashboard, let's take a look at what graded assessments look like for these assessment types. To do this, you just need to click on the name of the assessment. Let's take a look at an example in phonics, for example. For phonics, phonological awareness, and RAN assessments, you can see the students' overall score, their performance broken down by skill, and then each of the individual questions they answered. You can play the recordings to listen to how they responded to each prompt and see a transcript of how they read the word or gave their response. For spelling, you can see how your students spelled each word and how many they spelled correctly. You can also see a breakdown of how many spelling patterns students encoded correctly across all of the words on the assessment under Skills Assessed. Let's also take a closer look at a graded assessment for vocabulary. On here, you can see the different types of vocabulary questions students answered. And if you open these drop-downs, you can see each target word, all the answer choices, with the correct answer highlighted in green, and blue circles to indicate the student's answers. Similarly, on a graded assessment for comprehension, you can see students' performance by skill, as well as all of the passages and the questions presented to that student. Now that you've seen a single graded assessment, you might be wondering how to find a record of all of your students' assessments. The best way to do this is to click on the student's name from your main dashboard. As an example, let's click on Frodo's name. This will take you to a student detail page. By toggling between Phonological Awareness, Phonics, RAN, spelling, vocabulary, and comprehension at the top, you can see a history of all of the graded assessments of that type that your student has taken. Underneath, you will see a skill report for each student that tracks how that student is progressing on each of the skills they've been assessed on. Along with the individual graded assessments, this should provide a very granular picture of your student's progress that gives the full story and guides instructional next steps. Back at the top of the student detail page, you can print the page or click on Copy Share Link to generate a URL that can be shared with other teachers or parents so that they can also see this student's entire assessment history. By now, you've seen all aspects of the assessment process in Literably, and you're ready to have your students assess. We recommend checking out the Using the Demo Student training video to see how you can demo the assessment process for your students.